Many people work for money, but David Lee worked for the sake of humanity. David was born into a poor family, yet he studied diligently and became a scientist. During his time, a devastating childhood disease was affecting many children. This disease, known as polio, caused severe illness and left many unable to walk. People everywhere were terrified, hoping someone would find a way to protect their children from this dreadful illness. However, the task was challenging. David Lee, however, was determined. In 1952, he discovered a vaccine that was effective. As a result, polio began to decline rapidly. The world celebrated this great scientist. David had the opportunity to make a significant amount of money from his discovery, but he chose not to. Instead, he offered his discovery to the world for free. When asked by a writer why he did this, David replied, "I want as many children as possible to receive this vaccine. That alone brings me happiness." Dylan's father wears a suit with a shirt and tie to work. Sometimes the shirt is blue, sometimes it's green, and sometimes it's white. But every morning, he needs Dylan's help to pick a tie that matches his shirt. What's the issue? Dylan's father is colorblind. He cannot distinguish green from red, or blue from green. Nearly 1 in 10 men has some form of color blindness, with the most common type being red-green. However, some people cannot see any colors at all. Imagine how challenging that must be. The world must seem dull to someone who can't see colors. Fortunately, Dylan's father has Dylan to assist him every day. But even with help, it's still a challenge he faces daily. For Dylan, helping his dad choose the right tie has become a routine. He finds it interesting how something so simple for others can be so complicated for his dad. Despite the difficulties, they share a special bond over these morning moments. Dylan's father appreciates the support, knowing that without Dylan, his daily routine would be much harder. One day, my mother and I were going through our family photos together. "You look so much like your father when you smile," she said to me. "Really?" I responded, curious. "But I have your eyes, right, Mom?" "Yes, you do," she confirmed. A few days later, while I was practicing my dance moves, my mother shared a new piece of family history. Did I ever mention that my father owned a dance studio? I bet you inherited your grace and passion for dancing from him. Although my grandfather passed away before I was born, hearing my mother talk about him made me feel a connection to him. It was comforting to know we shared something in common. "Is there anyone else I resemble?" I asked. My mother smiled and said, "Well, you have a beautiful singing voice like Uncle Kevin. And you enjoy all the girly things just like I did when I was your age." I felt happy knowing these pieces of myself were connected to my family. As I raced upstairs to sing to my dolls, I thought about how these traits made me feel closer to my relatives. I appreciated the unique aspects of myself that came from my family, but I also loved the parts of me that were entirely my own. This sense of connection and individuality made me feel special and proud of who I am. Today, being left-handed still has its challenges. Most items and tools are designed with right-handed people in mind. However, our understanding of left-handedness has evolved. We now recognize that left-handed children are just like any other children, except they prefer using their left hand for tasks. One day, Ethan and his family were driving in their car. His dad was at the wheel when suddenly, a small bird flew into the windshield and fell to the ground. "Stop," Ethan shouted. His dad pulled over, looking disheartened. "The bird is probably dead," he said. Without hesitation, Ethan jumped out of the car, removed his woolly hat, and gently picked up the bird, placing it inside his hat. He then tucked the hat into his coat, keeping the bird warm as they traveled home. Upon arriving, Ethan's dad suggested, "We should bury the little bird, Ethan." With a heavy heart, Ethan took the hat out of his coat and opened it. To their surprise, the bird opened its eyes and looked at Ethan. "Dad, it's alive." "Look," Ethan exclaimed. The bird hopped onto his hand before flying up into a nearby tree. "Well done, Ethan. You saved that little bird," praised his mom. Jamie and Lily did not like eating vegetables. They preferred meat and fish. They enjoyed rice and bread, and they even liked fruits like apples, grapes, and bananas. But vegetables were not their favorite. One day, their mother shared a story with them. Long ago, the native people of Canada cultivated three special vegetables. They planted corn, beans, and pumpkins close together in their gardens. The corn grew strong and tall, while the beans wound their way up the sturdy corn stalks. The pumpkins spread out with large leaves as they grew. These leaves kept the soil cool and moist. The three vegetables supported each other, much like three sisters in a close-knit family. This is why the native people referred to them as the Three Sisters. These vegetables are considered very special. Young children grow up healthy and strong by eating corn, beans, and pumpkins. Since hearing this story, Jamie and Lily have started eating their vegetables every day. One day, Jamie noticed how hot the sun was, causing the wet air from the sea to rise up into the sky. Their aunt explained, "This moist air turns into clouds. The clouds move over the land, and the rain that falls from them fills our lakes. The water we drink comes from these lakes." Lily looked at the glass of water she was holding and asked, "Does that mean I'm drinking my own tears?" Her aunt smiled and replied, "Maybe." I'm the youngest girl in my family. My older sisters loved watching scary movies, but I didn't. Still, I ended up watching one with them, trying to act more grown up. After the movie, I went straight to bed, but I couldn't sleep. Every little sound seemed terrifying. Just as I was starting to drift off, I heard a noise under my bed. My heart raced with fear. I screamed, and my entire family rushed into my room. "What's under the bed?" I shouted. My dad reached under the bed and pulled out the monster. I screamed again, but then I burst into laughter. It was just our cat, Oliver. Dad placed Oliver on the bed with me, and I finally fell asleep. The next morning, I told Oliver, "No more scary movies for me, Oliver." I could tell he agreed. It had been a frightening night for him, too. There were two cats. One was gray, and the other was White. White lived in a cozy house. Every day, he sat by the window, gazing outside, feeling lonely. Gray, on the other hand, had no home. He roamed outside, chasing leaves and catching mice, but he didn't have any friends either. As winter approached and the days grew colder, Gray noticed a door opening one day. He peeked inside and saw White watching him. The house looked warm and inviting. Gray caught the scent of delicious cat food. He cautiously took a step inside, then another. Soon, he was fully in the house. He looked around, it was safe and warm. White walked over, and they touched noses, sniffing each other curiously. Before long, they were cuddled up together in a soft, comfortable cat bed.